The mission of Leadership Prince William is to engage and inspire individuals and our alumni through collaborative leadership. We used the grant from the Community Foundation to create conversations around equity and inclusion. It created a thread that was woven throughout our entire class year and really sort of colored the way that our program turned out this year. We were having conversations about affordable housing, and we brought to light a lot of things that people really didn't know about. And to see the participants in our program actually learning so much about what's going on all around them, or to be able to tell their classmates about some of their own experiences around finding affordable and safe housing. I think it just deepens that spirit of collaboration amongst the leaders of our community.
There was a period of time in between jobs, applied for over 50 jobs with a PhD and had been unable to locate a full-time career position and had to leave my home. And for the next 11 months, my son and I had to bounce from place to place. So we lived with some people we barely knew and some people we really didn't know. And it was very difficult. That's an experience I've never had before, but it's one that so many people in this region have. And I think that it needs to be addressed. And the resources, we need resources to be put in place to assist individuals and families that are going through that.
So I'm passionate about affordable housing because it impacted me growing up. I am an immigrant from El Salvador. I moved here in '89. I went to Arlington Public Schools. I went to Fairfax County Schools, and I moved to Prince William County 17 years ago. And this is the only county where I've had stability because I purchased my home and I have lived in that same home since. I did not have stability growing up. I lived with a single mom and 3 other siblings, and she was making minimum wage, working 2 to 3 jobs at a time to try to make ends meet. So we're constantly moving from one apartment to the next, which is why I had to move from Arlington to Fairfax to Springfield area, etc.
I think it's really important for us to continue to have conversations about issues like affordable housing because so many individuals and families are impacted by affordable housing. Intersects with every facet of life, from education to health, as we've seen this past year with the pandemic, to social issues, to criminal justice issues. And so it's very important that we take the time to really have the conversation and dissect these issues.
There's a wealth gap within the county. It can be tied back to the FDR administration displacing an entire community in what is Triangle today, but it can also be tied back to many other communities who were redlined or that were redlined and didn't receive the right funding in order to have affordable housing 50 years ago.
I believe that conversation is definitely the first step. However, that conversation has to be followed up by action, and that means challenging our leaders in different industries to address issues of affordable housing and systemic racism and a lot of the inequities that our society is plagued with. And most people that are hit the hardest are those people who are poor, and oftentimes those people who are minorities. So I think that the conversation is the start, but we need to start enacting policies and practices and programs that are really going to attack these issues head on.
It's important for grant makers, such as the Community Foundation, as well as leadership programs to come together. While one has the funds, the other one has the networks. And when they collaborate, then great things happen.
The role of the Community Foundation and Leadership Prince William is essential in amplifying the voices of individuals, advocates, leaders who are on the ground, working with individuals and families daily to address pertinent needs in our community. Now I have a seat at the table, my voice is being heard, and I plan to use it.
In the future, these conversations are definitely going to be a part of Leadership Prince William, both for our alumni and for the class of 2022 and beyond. We've learned so much, and there's so much more that we can learn about DEI.
We use the grants the Build Back Dream Forward grants from the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia to host 2 community conversations, one in May and the other one in June. The first one in May dealt with the invisibility of racism, and the second one in June focused on different ways of promoting volunteer management systems. It is absolutely important to have the conversation as a first step, because we come to conversations about racism from a position of fear, from a position of not knowing, from a position of, oh, I may offend. So it is important to have open and frank and fair conversations to sort of level the playing field and try and understand each other, as you can take what you've learned and turn it now into action. We have seen a direct impact based on these community conversations. As a staff, we have launched a DEI work group. Our board has made a commitment to actively seek ways to diversify its board members. Just for our organization alone, this grant has had a huge impact and will begin to affect the community change. Not only is Volunteer Fairfax thankful, as a BIPOC leader in Volunteer Fairfax, I am very grateful for the opportunity to be on the planning and executing stage of this grant from the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia. It really has opened my eyes on my journey. It empowers me, and it's heartening to see others want to learn, to see others like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. The journey is 360. You know, we all come from somewhere and we all do things for a reason, but together we will be better. There is a powerful quote by Maya Angelou that states, when we know better, we do better. And I believe it challenges us that we can't hide behind the veil of ignorance anymore. I believe now that we know better, we are challenged to do better. We have a responsibility to our generation and the upcoming generations to do better.
VOICE stands for Virginians Organized for Interfaith Community Engagement. We don't pretend to come to a conversation with the answers. We come to the conversation to hear what people are facing, to think about and see if there are common trends and themes from the different listening sessions that we do. VOICE is an action-oriented organization. We are all about listening to our communities and then actually making change and difference in people's lives. That's the crux of why VOICE has been so successful over the last few years that we've been able to do things. We've worked to get a public defender's office in Prince William County because we learned from the community that people didn't have access to legal services. We've worked to get, $80 million plus from the governor of Virginia during the pandemic for rent and mortgage relief, because that's what we heard from our community. So VOICE is all about taking the steps necessary to influence change in society, even if it's small change, but it makes a difference in that particular community based on the listening sessions that we've been doing. The listening sessions that we held with the help of the Community Foundation essentially identified mental health as one of the crises that was facing the community. We found out that a way to resolve that would be through these community response centers, where we could essentially have centers to be able to serve that community. And we worked with the politicians. Through those listening sessions, we are now on track to put funds together and actually build some of the first crisis response centers in Virginia. So that's an effective way from going from listening to actual results of bringing about change for people. At VOICE, we really value this relationship with the Community Foundation. VOICE is an effective listening agent through its institutions, through its multiple resources, to be able to hear what are the issues that the community is facing. And the Community Foundation really wants to know what are those issues so that we can help to better our society and our community. So this relationship in the future is one that can continue to serve this community effectively.